I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and if you've been following on the site at PhoneDog.com or on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron, you know that I'm doing a 30-day challenge with the Apple iPhone 5. Now, iOS isn't anything new, and we've seen some evolutionary updates over the years. That said, not a whole lot's changed since 2007 when the device and the OS first came out. We've seen some revisions to the design. We've seen some revolutionary new features on the hardware side, but people were kind of dismayed when the iPhone 4S came out and it looked exactly the same as the iPhone 4. And then same with the iPhone 5. It kind of looks like the 4S, just a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter, and a little bit longer thanks to the 4-inch display. We're covering hardware and software here, and given the fact that I've been on Android since about March of this year, so quite some time, 8 months, it's time to go back to iOS and see if this platform is viable for people of all types, for the mainstream consumer, for that nerd. I'll let you know all around, but I'm doing a 30-day challenge. It's day 3, and here's what I found out so far. Day 3, and I'm already finding some familiar things that used to frustrate me about iOS are still present in iOS 6. The biggest one for me, I have about 41,000 emails in my PhoneDog email account, and I reference emails that go as far back as 2 or 3 years, where it's like, you know what, I remember somebody saying something, but I'm not quite sure either who said it or how it was worded, or perhaps it's for a project or ad deal or something I'm working on. And I remember that somewhere in the email thread, it was somebody named Chris was in the email, for example, or they said something like, that stinks, or that's the worst ever. I'm the king of going into Gmail and typing in things like that with quotes around it if I remember an exact phrase. And it's very hard to do over here. It's not as robust as an Android device with Gmail integration. That said, PhoneDog runs off Gmail as a background, and so do my personal emails as well. So I can put in my personal email, my @PhoneDog.com address, Aaron@PhoneDog.com, and I could put it in here and access the emails on Gmail and see all 41,600 that I have right now. I usually would have more. I get about 400 emails a day, but I try to delete at least the ones that I don't need. So that said, you know, it's not as robust, and that's really frustrating for somebody like me, particularly when we're getting ready to roll into CES 2013. And it's like, you know what, I need that email from 6 months ago, or maybe I need that email from last CES to see if that PR person's still around, or that PR person can connect with me. Now, there are some ways to rectify this. You can go into settings and go down here to mail, for example, and we'll scroll up and you can see a couple of different things here, and these are a couple of different. Show 1,000 recent messages. You can set your preview, obviously, to 2 lines to make more preview text available on the screen, but you can show this 1,000 recent messages. You can set things to no limit more, but I still find that the search option isn't quite as robust as Gmail. It doesn't search quite as well, and I have both of these accounts set up as Exchange accounts on the iPhone, so I should have no problem with that. That's the biggest thing that I'm seeing. Back to email, though, let me show you this, and I'm going to pull out a mail so we can take a look and actually get close. I've got the VIP account right here. So when I click on VIP, it brings up everybody in my VIP inbox that's important to me. So I'll scroll away, and I've got some emails, which actually I can't show on camera right now. Got some personal stuff in there, and got some work stuff in there as well. But VIP is great because if you have that starred, let's say you're somebody like me and you get 400 emails a day, and it's like, you know what, I don't want my phone lighting up with 400 different emails. I don't want it to pop up in the notification center every single time I get an email. What you can do is do kind of what I do, where I have VIP, I have my significant other, I have my family, I have all my main work colleagues, I have the owners, I have Taylor, Evan, Anna, etc. in the VIP list, and that said, it'll pop up with a star whenever they email me. So for example, if Taylor emails me, it'll pop up in the top corner with a star, and it'll say Taylor Martin, new message. Same thing over here, much like a text message, if I have the phone turned off, it'll pop up as a VIP notification. So I'm a giant fan of the VIP inbox. It kind of leads me into the next favorite feature that I'm really enjoying about this device, or about iOS 6 in particular, Do Not Disturb. It's a great feature, and you see it on some of the later Android devices that are running Android 4.1 on the Samsung side with blocking modes. The Note 2, the Galaxy S3, if your Galaxy S3 has the Android 4.1 update, you'll get something very similar as well. But I can go into notifications, hit Do Not Disturb, and I can set it where it's scheduled on from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. and I only get calls from my favorites. So if I have favorites in my call log, girlfriend, significant other, which also is my girlfriend, family, people that I work with, I can set it and set those as my favorites and get those calls even when Do Not Disturb is turned on. So that's cool. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. But I have been using that quite a bit. And repeated calls is a nice feature as well, where if somebody calls you repeatedly in a row, it's an emergency, perhaps somebody's gone to the hospital, heaven forbid, your phone will ring if they call you a second time within 3 minutes. So Do Not Disturb, I find it to be pretty robust. There are some things I'd like to see here, perhaps a little bit better coordination outside of just phone, maybe with text messaging or things like that. It'd be kind of nice to control that as well, kind of keep the text messages out. But hopefully we'll see that in a later version of iOS. So that's another neat feature I'm liking as well. But otherwise, it's a new device, and I have a case on it right now to prevent it from dropping and breaking, because this is actually PhoneDog's unit, so I don't want it to break. That'd be pretty bad. But I'm liking the 4-inch display. It's really weird coming from a 4.8-inch display. And let me see if I have my Galaxy S3 over here. Actually, just to give you the Droid DNA as comparison, just because it's what's behind me on the desk. You can see here, size-wise, much different, even with the case on this thing, in comparison to the Droid DNA. It's a much smaller device, and it's been weird getting used to a smaller display, because I've been working with the Galaxy S3 for the most part since May, or actually since mid-June. So getting used to that, kind of a struggle. That said, I do like the added screen real estate here. 3.5, way too small. 4 inches is still on the small side in comparison to the 4.3, the 4.5, the 4.7-inch options out there on the market, the 4.8, the 5. I can keep going, but it's nice to see something for everybody. And you know what? 4 inches is good for those people that perhaps want a smaller device, want it to be a little bit more pocketable. I also love how thin and light it is. A couple of things I'm remembering about this device: how easy it is to charge, because it charges incredibly fast. It was at 20% about 15 minutes ago. It's up to 38% now as I'm shooting this video, because I just pulled it off of the charger. Passbook is cool too. Passbook is something I used in the review. I haven't quite gotten around to it in the 30-day challenge just yet. Hopefully we'll get to more of that in the next couple of days. I don't have any flights booked at the moment, but I'd love to use it with American Airlines when I do fly, and then of course I can set up my Walgreens, information as well. So that's kind of what I'm noticing. Otherwise, the thing that I'm really struggling with, it's boring. I've been using this operating system on and off in reviews since 2008 with the iPhone 3G. It's really boring. It needs a renovation. It needs a refresh, perhaps some widgets or something to spice it up outside of this boring icon list, this grid of icons. Granted, you do get a nice new row. If that's something that excites you, I laugh as I say that, but if that's something that excites you, you do get a new row in iOS 6 with the iPhone 5. That said, it's still pretty boring, even with the notifications area right here, with my weather, with my tap to tweet and tap to post. These are nice additions. I can come in right here and click tap to tweet, and I can say hello from iPhone challenge video and hit send and be ready to go. So it's easy to quickly tweet, quickly do a Facebook message. That said, Android devices have had this for some time, and the fluidity argument, the it just works out of the box argument, the historical premise of an iPhone and iOS is really starting to falter, because with Ice Cream Sandwich, with TouchWiz, with Sense 4 Plus, that fluidity is making its way to Android devices. Combine that with the fact that when you take a look at Notes here, for example, and you see the keyboard on a 4-inch display, and you see the quick brown fox is happy that it is Wednesday. And we've got some spelling errors there, but still pretty fluid. I mean, the device itself is relatively fluid, but the first build of iOS 6 was terrible with the keyboard, and it really made me rethink whether iOS is the most fluid platform out there. It's still great. It's got a great reputation of being fluid, and it's good for a lot of people. That said, fluidity is up to par on the Galaxy S3, the Galaxy Note 2, the Droid DNA, the One X, and a slew of other Android devices this holiday season. So it's going to be a tough sell when you look at like a historical premise like that, and you see, for example, a notification coming in right now from Twitter. When you look at a historical premise like that and you realize there are other devices that are getting ready to beat it or on the cusp of beating it, it really makes this device a hard sell, given the fact that it starts at $199. You can get some great Android devices for $100. Stay tuned for the next challenge video. We'll be covering maps. We'll be covering a ton of stuff. Maps, Passbook, and more. Otherwise, little things that frustrate me when I go into messages. I hate that I don't have a preview picture. I hate that that's something that I really enjoyed about Android. And really, I just miss the customization. I miss on the Galaxy Note 2 or the S3, customizing the background of my text messaging area, for example, or with Sense 4, customizing different skins, things like that. I hate the fact that you don't get that ability in iOS. Stay tuned for the next challenge video. We'll have one really soon. We'll talk about Passbook, Maps, and some of these Apple accounts and services on the device. We'll see if they hold up and they make iOS 6 shine as a new platform, or perhaps it's still just long in the tooth. Stay tuned for the next update on PhoneDog.com. In the meantime, hit me on Twitter, PhoneDog_Aaron. Let me know what you want to see on this challenge. I'll do my best to address all of those before the 30-day challenge is up. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more on PhoneDog.com.